And the drivers are ready out on the circuit as we get ready to go for a 28-lapper at the Red Bull Ring in Austria. Who will be claiming the checkered flag and those all-important points as we have our first look at the grid. Starting on pole position, it is Mohamed Badima in the Ferrari 458. Porsche represented by Benjamin Hengste from Hungary on the front row of the grid. Daniel Fenton heads row 2 with Mercedes-AMG and Kylian Drumont in the Subaru BRZ. Alongside row 3, Thomas Laboutelle in the BMW M6. And then next up it is Pol Ura in the Mazda RX Vision Gran Turismo concept. Then it's Jose Serrano, 7th on the grid ahead of Brenda Rouge in the Chevrolet Corvette C7. Nico Romero heads Genesis' charge. He lines up 9th position with Daniel Penco, the Spaniard, alongside him. Next up, it is Mateo Estevez in 11th place. And 12th and last on the grid will be Coque Lopez in the Lexus. Won last time out a few weeks ago, just to remind you. Now, as you can see, the weather conditions far from ideal. It is sopping wet out there. No choice for these drivers here, Jimmy, to start on the wet compound of tyre.
No, you have to do that, otherwise you'd just be completely gribless for the first couple of laps or so. But Badima out front in that Ferrari, feeling fast, obviously, as he said a bit earlier on. So if you're him, really, ideally, you want to just eyes forward and try and build as big a gap as you can whilst the car is feeling good. Of course, tyre wear on as well here, so easy to burn these wet tyres if it gets into difficult conditions. But I think it's going to be a fun race, this one, Tom.
Yeah, we'll see what happens, because of course it can dry out. There is that possibility with the dynamic weather. Will someone go on to the intermediate tyres? Will they make a gamble and go straight onto the dry compact tyres? We'll wait and see what is going to happen over the course of this 28-lap race. But round 2 of the 2024 Gran Turismo World Series is about to begin. We're ready to go racing here in Prague as Mohamed Badima and Ferrari will lead the field across the line, and we are underway then here at the Red Bull Ring as we head up towards the first corner. Badima, Hengste, then Fenton, Drumont, Laboutelle. Don't expect any rash moves in towards turn 1, out of turn 1 into turn 2, and then the heavy braking zone of turn 3 is where we should see drivers getting themselves in position for the first overtakes. You saw Fenton there running a little bit wide on the exit of turn 1. That's left him under attack already from Kylian Drumont in the Subaru as we head up the rise in towards turn 3. Badima's got the lead. Second place there for Hengste, looks pretty sure, but what about what's happening further behind? Drumont right on the back of Fenton. Don't think he was able to launch a move, but you got Laboutelle and Ura in position there side by side. 5th place for Laboutelle as he drags alongside
the Chevrolet going around the outside, perhaps, of Pol Ura, and Mazda is looking to the inside of Laboutelle. Cars getting very close contact there between Hengste and Badima at the head of the field. Estevez there having an awful time, I think, spinning down at the T4 there at the back of the pack. So bad to worse for him. But meanwhile, the mid-pack is everyone for themselves. Contact again, I think, this time between De Rouge and Drumont. These guys are fighting for their lives whilst racing each other out there. Horrible conditions to drive in these, but this really shows the talent of these drivers, and it shows the strengths and weaknesses of the cars too, as Drumont just struggles to get the throttle there out in the Subaru. Fenton hangs on in 3rd for now.
You can throw a blanket over these drivers, they're so close to one another from 3rd place back. Badima, meanwhile, has pulled out a 1.3 second advantage over Hengste on this first lap. Then the cork in the bottle is Daniel Fenton at the moment, the Mercedes driver who we ride on board with, and we're not even at the end of the first lap. Out of the final corner we go then. Is anybody going to think about a lunge in towards turn 1? You'll be brave if you think about doing that, because it could leave you under threat in towards turn 3. Drumont, though, decides that discretion is the better part of valour, looks for a half move up the inside, but eventually ducks back into the wheel tracks of the Mercedes. He's trying to line it up on the exit of turn 1 and into that braking zone of turn 3.
Yeah, that AMG is just a roadblock right now. No one can find a way around. On board now with Pol Ura in that Mazda. Of course, highlighted by that rotary engine. Look in the mirror there, in the bottom right-hand corner. You can just about see that BMW being pushing along. Pol Ura, Laboutelle on the outside. They all try and break off line. Just about managing to keep out of each other's way. De Rouge there, getting by Drumont. So De Rouge up into 4th place. Now Ura's following through as well. That Subaru really struggling on the straights here. Unfortunately, this is not a circuit. You won't have a car that's slow in a straight line.
Yes, left him under attack here from Laboutelle. Oh, moves under braking there as Drumont leaves no room for his countryman. Laboutelle's going to try and rough it around the outside. I don't think he had much choice in the matter, but he's turned it into an opportunity. He's got ahead of Drumont, and he's almost side by side with Ura. Just has to back out of it again on the exit of that corner and duck back into the wheel tracks. But that was very close and aggressive racing. Ura's a little bit wide. That's left the door open for Drumont to go through into 6th place or 5th place possibly, but no, not for now. Drumont just sits there in 6th position, but all the while they're squabbling. Look at what's happening in front. Badima, Hengste, all clearing off into the distance. They're nowhere to be seen.
It's hard to overstate how difficult this is. Just driving around in these conditions at this speed is impressive in itself. Whilst trying to race each other, this is where these guys earn their reputation. So the Beaujolais now are focusing on him in the BMW P7 in the pack, and there's Drumont as well. A bit slow off the exit is Paul Ura. Drumont's now putting alongside Will. He has the legs to get by the Beaujolais. He's going to push his fellow countryman through there, up into P5 and P6. Go BMW and Subaru. Up the inside goes Thomas the Beaujolais. No, he thinks better of it for now. Still holding the place, but no, Paul Ura hanging on the outside somehow in that Mazda. Has to back out of it finally, but that was great to working together there by the Beaujolais and Drummond, but maybe the stewards will have a look at that.
It's allowed Serrano an opportunity to go through up into 7th place there, so Ura has just lost out a little bit whilst they were going side by side into that break into the turn 3. Tell you what, I wince every time we go into there because it just takes one locked brake, and these drivers don't run ABS, so one snatch brake and you're going straight off to the scene of the crash.
I'm waiting for that one guy to just come flying across the inside of the picture there, out of control, wiping somebody out. Hopefully it won't happen, but of course it can happen. So still here on to lap 3 there. Badima and Hensei, they're really not separated by much. Very, very quick in these wet conditions are the Ferrari and Hensei. 3.5 seconds back is Fenton. So these guys seemingly the ones to beat at the moment.
Lap times in the high 138s for the two leaders. We expect the crossover time, by the way, to go on to intermediate tyres about 137 there and thereabouts. You can see Badima with that big old slide in that Ferrari 458 as he came through the right-hander. But that's the crossover time. Rain is still coming down as it stands for now, so just keep an eye on the weather conditions. If it starts to dry out, when the times get down into the 1:37s, that's when we should see drivers thinking about boxing for inters.
Yeah, I'd love to take a look at the weather radar, of course, a feature in Gran Turismo 7 to see sort of what's coming, what's happening there. But wipers still on for now. Rain is still falling for now, so we'll keep an eye on that and see if things get any better. But going up to T1 again, Badima stretching his legs a little bit. The gap now up to 1.2 seconds, but it seems a little bit weak through T1. That's where Hensei comes back at him. There's a replay. Here's what happened here between Jose Serrano and the Beaujolais. We go down towards T4. Heavy on the brakes, contact there. Oh, and off goes Serrano. He spins. Oh, what a shame there for Jose Serrano after such a strong showing of the Montreal round.
Yeah, a bit of a hand-fisted attempt there for the Spaniard, I'm afraid to say, as he went into the braking zone of turn 4. The Beaujolais, we ride on board with him and Drumont, all out of shape there, and then contact spins round Drumont. Oh, Kilian, what on earth is going on with your 2024 season? He made a mistake in the Nations Cup, if you remember, back in Montreal, and it goes from bad to worse for him. He must have walked under a stepladder or, I don't know, something along the lines of that, you know, to the Black Cats or something today, because it's just not working out at all.
I love to see a replay of that, but I think like the Beaujolais was quite heavily involved in that incident there. But we'll comment on that when we see more. For now, and there you go, the stewards having a look at that. We have live stewards here at the event, straight into the action, straight into the investigation, and we'll get back to you as soon as we know more. But that does put, as you say, Kilian Drumont at the back of the back, and Coque Lopez will be happy with that because he's getting a different place out of it, but not moving forward. Someone who is moving forward is Estevez for Honda, up to P7 right now after starting from the back of the grid. So great racing so far from Estevez. Can he continue?
We have a look at the weather radar in our commentary box, and there's a little bit of a break in the weather we can see coming along the way in a few moments' time. So if that does start to ease off ever so slightly, we'll keep an eye on things and see what happens. There is Nico Romero driving for Genesis. As I mentioned earlier on, Genesis podium for them in the World Finals at the back end of 2023 in Barcelona. Can they repeat that feat over the course of this year? Just to remind you, as we now see the weather radar, you can see there heavy rain at the moment, but it is going to start to break a little bit later on in this one. So if that does happen, or when that does happen, I should say, then we'll see drivers changing their strategy and thinking on the fly.
I love that we have that in the game. In real life, the weather radar is something you just don't like looking at, especially if you're in the grid. But anyway, here is a replay of what happened between Drumont and the Beaujolais. So we're coming down to T4 there. A bit of contact on the way in. Is it something? No, he loses it on its own. No, he doesn't. He almost does. Yeah, and the contact there over the Beaujolais just spins me around, but you can see all the way in. Really struggling with the rear of that Subaru, sorry. So I think that maybe that car just not quite the right car to be in these conditions. But still, it'll do well to come back from this Drumont, but back of the field for now.
Unfortunate there for Kilian as he sits down at the back of the field in 12th position for now. There is Hensei. Tell you what, he's keeping Badima honest, actually, isn't he, over the course of this first few laps in both of their first races in the Gran Turismo World Series. They're driving like they've been here for a fair amount of time. You can see 4.2 seconds there and thereabouts over some parts of this lap that they put into Daniel Fenton, who sits in third place. You can see Labuschagne getting a 3-second penalty for that collision with Kylian Drumont. Well, we wondered the stewards might have a look at it, and they have, and they've decided to hit Labuschagne with a 3-second penalty, which is going to drop him down to about 10th place there and thereabouts once he served it.
I mean, yeah, it was fair. He spun Drumont, ended his race pretty much, so yeah, penalty there I think is fair in that situation. So meanwhile, in the mid-back, Paul Ura will be the first person to gain from Labuschagne penalty. You can see that 3 seconds above the top of his car there. As he comes to the penalty zone, he'll be forced to brake for 3 seconds, so you lose a lot more than that in reality. And then, of course, the time getting back up to speed again is massive, especially given around here a lot of high-speed acceleration zones. But on board with Paul Ura, looking a little bit flustered, I think, at the moment. Not looking like he's very comfy. That Mazda proving difficult in these conditions so far. Almost collects the back of Labuschagne there and picks up his own penalty. But we've seen a lot of drivers doing that, just sort of being off the corner, trying to avoid too much rotation, trying to get all under one hit and accelerate in one straight line instead of accelerating with a bit of block-off, because that's an easy way of just getting traction that way.
Just brought Estevez a little bit closer in that Honda there as well. That Honda's not been particularly fast actually so far this week, especially in these wet conditions. You can see Estevez struggling with the traction as he comes out of turn 4.
Estevez's lap time, so if you look at it, and then he's matching the leader pretty much at the moment, so he's really quick as Estevez, so keep an eye on him. We did say he'll come back through the field, didn't we? And here he comes now in that Honda in P7. I'd say the rear engine cars, or the mid engine cars, having a bit of a better time at the moment than the front engine cars.
Yeah, snap of oversteer there for Ura as you saw him just coming through that right hand, and his Labuschagne service penalty moves off of the racing line. Such closing speed they have as Labuschagne going to emerge at 7th place, a little bit higher up the order than I thought. Penko and Romero also under investigation for a collision as well. They're in 8th and 9th place, Romero and Penko respectively at the moment. Out of the final turn we go, and across the timeline, so it's all pretty quiet on the western front as it stands for now, but it's going to bubble up a little bit later. Where are we at in terms of lap times? We're still in the low 138s at the moment, so we're not close enough for a changeover. The rain is still falling down, but at a lighter intensity than it was. Let's have a look and see if we can work out what happened here with Romero and Penko into turn 4, downhill on the braking, Penko on the inside, bit of contact there with Romero. I don't think that cost them too much, really.
That's all right, it's just racing that one. Right, I say that, and the stewards are going to say it isn't that. Well, no further fraction. There you go, finally I've got one right. That's all this time. It's taken 8 years, how long it's been. Oh, Lopez there. Forgetting that it's the pedal on the left that slows you down. Well, you've got a clutch, I guess, but slows you down too. And back down to 12th place, he goes behind Kylian Drumont. Coque Lopez is struggling big time in that Lexus.
Yeah, I wonder if he's going to try and launch an attack immediately on Kylian Drumont and get himself ahead. Down into the braking zone we go. Closes right up on the back of the Subaru, and it's just not working out at all here for Coque Lopez. He doesn't look comfortable. Look at the way he's driving. Look at his driving position as well. He looks tense in his shoulders, doesn't he? You can see him fighting the car, scrabbling for grip and trying to find performance that just doesn't seem to be there for the Spaniards.
Yeah, it's important in wet conditions to sort of let the car move a little bit. If you're trying to put in this really big aggressive influence, that's when the car has the biggest issue. It looks like he's sliding through this midsection here, so we have to hope for Coque's sake anyway, the weather does lighten up a little bit. Again, our weather radar suggesting that the rain's still coming down pretty decently at the moment, so we've got a long way left in this race. Lap 8 of 28 as Badima comes across to start lap 8. And here is a replay there of Coque Lopez. So this could be quite scary on board if you're Coque Lopez. They hit the brake pedal. Nothing's happening. They've got to get out of the way. Oh, you can imagine just that feeling there of, am I about to wipe something out? No? Okay, but I am now last.
Yeah, that would be twitch like a rabbit's nose, wouldn't it? Unfortunate there for Coque Lopez, and just about managing to avoid contact into turn 3. Now Serrano versus Drumont. Drumont starting to come together in this race. 8th lap out of 28 we are on here in the Manufacturers' Cup Grand Final. Ura versus Estevez a bit further up the road. Estevez now finding that pace. He got ahead of Labuschagne a couple of laps ago. Now his next target is going to be the Spaniard. So out of turn 3 and into turn 4 could be the opportunity that the Honda driver is looking for as he makes his recovery through the field following the difficult qualifying. Side by side we run. Estevez is going to be on the outside into the downhill braking zone. There's a bit of hip and shoulder and a bit of contact. That's going to run Estevez a little bit wide, but can he find traction on the exit of the corner to get ahead of Ura? Side by side they go through into the next left-hander. Estevez is going to have track position here if he can just firm it on the inside, but has he got the grip there to get ahead of Ura? No, Ura sweeps around the outside and holds on to 5th place.
What an impressive drive so far by Estevez. This guy started in P11. Is up to P6 and challenging Pol Ura in P5. I think he's got the pace to get by, but Pol Ura, very experienced in Gran Turismo 7, just putting the car in the right places right now, but the pace isn't there for him. It's just a matter of time, I think.
Trevon just losing a position there to Jose Serrano for 10th position as well. On board ride here with Thomas Laboutelet. Pole position for BMW back in Amsterdam. That'll seem like ever such a long time ago, though. There's a bit of contact, isn't there, going through that final corner. Estevez now under a bit of pressure. Meanwhile, Laboutelet versus Estevez as we come across the timing line to be in lap 9. Laboutelet with the inside line with track position, with the grip under braking, but does he want to get ahead of Estevez, or does he want to leave himself open to the opportunity into turn 3? Estevez runs at the curve on the outside. Laboutelet's going to try and pick up his slipstream here on the exit of turn 1 and then run it for a move surely on the inside into turn 3. The Frenchman closes up onto the back of the Argentine then. Estevez defends track position on the inside and just holds on to 6th place for now. So nice, clean, fair racing in the mid-pack here.
So the rain's getting a little bit lighter, but we've still got a heavy rain coming in there from the south. The wind is blowing a north direction, so it's bringing that rain across. So it's not quite done in terms of rain, but already though, some of these guys searching for the water, it seems, and these wet tyres, they've been on since the start of the race. They're going to start to wear somewhat. But if you're Estevez right now, you're in a bit of a tricky situation because you're trying to overtake Pol Ura. Whenever you do that, you put yourself back into the clutches of the car behind Laboutelet, and we've seen him. He's elbows out all the way as Laboutelet in this race. So definitely one to watch out for. But Estevez needs to try and focus and try and put a car between him and that BMW behind.
You've got to be careful as well. You don't want to squabble too much because look who's going to clear off into the distance. Pol Ura doesn't need a second invitation to build a bit more of a gap over those two drivers. And Estevez there wide on the exit. That could leave him under threat from Laboutelet. Maybe not into these last couple of corners, but perhaps across the timeline and into turn 1 again.
I was going to say, speaking of clearing off into the distance, the leaders now are 5 seconds ahead of the rest as Laboutelet dives up the inside of the last corner. Not usually a place between overtake there. Up into 6th place goes Laboutelet. So that was a nice move there. But these guys have been sort of bashing and crashing into each other a little bit. So we'll see if the stewards have anything to say about any of the racing. To me, it's all fair racing right now. Great move by Laboutelet. But now the question is, can he make up the time to Pol Ura in front? The gap now about 1.8 seconds, just about out of the slipstream range. It's got to be all power from that BMW, which we know has got plenty of as it bears down on the Mazda in front. But yeah, Medema and Hensei, first and second, 6.5 seconds ahead of Benton for Mercedes in third. So it's good for Ferrari and Porsche right now.
Well, hugely impressive as well for Hensei to just stick it onto the coattails of Medema, not launching any moves, not getting himself into any trouble, just keeping himself there ready to try and pounce. Let's have a look here. He just ran a little bit deep, didn't he? And then Laboutelet said, thanks very much. There's a tiny bit of contact out of that penultimate corner into the final turn. Laboutelet up the inside and through into 6th position. Didn't need a second invitation there. His next target will be trying to close up onto the back of Pol Ura in 5th position. Meanwhile, back at the front, you've got Medema and Hensei still close to one another. This has been the story of the race. It is a little bit closer than it was last time around. So I wonder if Hensei wants to just try and lead the race at this point, maybe.
Might be the mistake for Medema as well, because that gap is now down to only a tenth of a second. And that turn, Hensei makes the mistake, gets onto the silly part of the circuit, recovers it well. But that would have been a nerve-wracking moment there to Benjamin Hensei and Team Porsche. The gap back up now to 0.6 of a second, much to the delight, I'm sure, of Mohamed Medema in front in that Ferrari. But we're seeing the pace. We're seeing the pace come through now for Hensei and Team Porsche. That's going to be a wake-up call, I think, for Mohamed in front. He's okay, cool, right. This guy is quick behind me now. I need to focus. I can't be making silly mistakes and letting that gap come down again.
I'll tell you what, I can't remember the last time we saw a driver, though, come into the Gran Turismo World Series and just perform as well as Mohamed Medema has done, and also for Benjamin Hensei as well, actually, for that matter. These two have just been parachuted into this season, and it's like they've been here for years.
Yeah, they've done amazing so far, but the race is far from over. And to prove that, here are people squabbling for position in the midfield. Romero and Benko looking up the inside of that Genesis. Not going to get a good run off the corner there. Here comes Kylian Drumont in the Subaru trying to recover after a spin earlier on. but again, just hasn't quite got the legs in that thing. Any corner exit, any acceleration zone, just goes backwards. It must have been so frustrating. But that is the Manufacturers' Cup. Not all cars have the same strengths in the same places. There's Drumont, big dive up the inside. Penko there also having contact with Romero in the Genesis, and there's still contact, nearly spinning out. Penko is Drumont. They all seem to somehow get out of the corner, but that was a bit of a mess down there.
That's the thing, is when these cars are driving on the limit, as they are in these conditions, you could push them round with your little finger, basically. They are just on the ragged edge of adhesion. You can see Penko has now lost out here to Jose Serrano, who's having something of an anonymous race, it must be said, in that Toyota. Let's have a look at the lap times. Where are we at in terms of that, the weather? It's still in the sort of mid-138s. Nothing really to write home about. Certainly not change over to intermediates time for the drivers, despite the fact the rain has definitely decreased in intensity. So we'll keep an eye on that over the next few laps or so and see how this circuit develops, whether the pace does start to pick up.
There'll be a couple of drivers out there really, I think, hoping for that penalty. Le Boutellé given another 1 second penalty. Do you reckon that was for that little bump into the last corner? Because that would have unsettled Estevez, and basically you refer to it as a bump and run, which if you're driving a stock car is great. Here, not so much. So that may be for that. We'll come back to you when we can confirm that entirely. But another penalty for Le Boutellé. He's costing himself here a good result.
Yeah, he's been in the water a little bit over the course of this race, hasn't he? Let's be completely fair. We're still not quite at the halfway stage of this first race. There's plenty of action left to come. You can see Nico Romero there, just up ahead of Kylian Drumont. 8th, 9th, 10th then for Romero, Drumont and Serrano as it stands for now. Le Boutellé, though, with that 1 second penalty, that's going to drop him close to the likes of Estevez and Romero, so they may fall into the distance of that, because it's not only the 1 second that you lose from the penalty, it's also the fact that you've got to get yourself back up to the same racing speed as the rest of the drivers. You can see he's right on the back, though, of Pol Jura as we head through this middle sector of the lap. Jura doesn't want Le Boutellé to try and get himself involved in the action, because that's going to cost him time. You can see there, cue the Jaws music, Estevez, Romero and Drumont all not far away from this.
Bobby is over there signing autographs casually, but here we go then. Penalty being applied to Le Boutellé in that BMW right now. Can Estevez make the most of it? It's going to be overspeed a lot quicker, right onto the back of that BMW, but not quite close enough to make the move at that point. And I'll tell you what, Estevez will be ruined that. He really wants to get by Le Boutellé. He had that pace, but actually saying that, since Le Boutellé got past, he did manage to open up a little bit of a gap. So maybe the charge starting to wane a little bit there for Estevez in the Honda.
So across the timeline we go. Badima, Hengse and Fenton still your top three as it stands for now. Nose-tail racing here, though, in this mid-pack of this one. Keen to see what is going to happen here. You can see Drumont now on the recovery with Nico Romero just up at the sharp end of the field. You can see them also on the left-hand side of your screen. Drumont up at the top, Romero down at the bottom. Reverse of those in positions on the track at the moment as we go through the left-hand kick. This is turn 2 technically, and then this braking zone just after. This is into turn 3, and we've seen a few drivers making a bit of a meal of it, it has to be said. You can see Romero there, really slow actually on the apex of the corner, allows Drumont to close right up onto the back of him.
Interesting strategy there for Drumont, taking a higher gear and just landing it out of the corner and hoping for the best. Maybe better than trying to play with the throttle and having that wheel spin moment that we've seen so many times from these guys coming out of slow corners. As we come through again now down to Team 4, and still rain coming down for these guys at the moment, so still having to deal with this, still having to deal with the conditions there, as Badima has actually just about spread the gap a little bit to Hensei up in the lead. You can see there are live audience there enjoying the racing as of now. Manufacturers Cup now, Nations Cup a little bit later on today, so lots of racing for you Gran Turismo fans at home watching. And there is our weather radar, and after I think this one, the last cell of heavier rain, I think it looks like we're starting to clear up a little bit. So we will see. Of course, the weather is moving all the time. The number of weather conditions here in GT7, so lots of the possibilities still to come.
And speaking of those possibilities, Jimmy, for the likes of the Le Boutellé, Estevez, who are a little bit further down the order, do you think they'll be a little bit more inclined to take that risk? As we see Drumont now getting close off the back of Romero, not quite going for the move. But yeah, just going back to that point, do you think that they might take a bit of a gamble? They've got less to lose.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, the moment, if I was on those guys, the moment I saw contact there, between Drumont and Romero, nothing seems to come from it there, but just showing that braking performance of that Subaru. You see on the brakes, Drumont is a demon. It doesn't matter. You can't do anything with it when he comes off the corner. But to finish my thought there, yeah, if you're one of these guys who may be trying to think, can I improve my race. The moment I saw my lap time coming down, I would come over into straight run. Maybe even one lap before. Just try and call it before everyone else does.
Doing Jenson Button. Do you remember what he did in Australia 2010? He came off the intermediate tyres straight onto the slicks, went off on the next corner, and then managed to get enough heat to get those tyres working. That's a problem for later for these drivers to worry about. We are now at the halfway stage, though, of this race. Into turn 4 we go. Romero still in front of Drumont, as Serrano there in the back row got a bit of a slip and a slide on as well.
Now, we've been singing the praises of Estevez in this race, but also Ryan Darouche up 4 places from his starting position. The second best of the front engine runners to Fenton, who has, I think, just sort of found his pace and now found his groove, and is actually starting to go back towards Hensey in front ever so slowly. It actually looks like the charge of Ben Hensey in the Porsche is starting to slow down a bit as Drumont goes up the inside of Romero, and the S's there. They're now side by side coming up to this last couple of corners here. Drumont on the inside, Romero on the outside, but Romero able to just drive straight back past him again. That must be so frustrating if you're Kylian Drumont.
What a shame there for Drumont. He's doing nothing wrong at this moment. And look at the exit he's got out the corner, pulls alongside Romero and easily gets ahead. But is that going to leave him vulnerable into the next heavy braking zone of turn 3? Side by side they go down the start-finish straight. Romero's going to go for the long sweeping line on the corner of turn 1 and try to use the traction on the exit. Gets a bit of a slip and a slide on Drumont, pushed to the sausage curb on the outside, and again side by side they go. Romero on the inside, Drumont's on the outside, and Romero in the Genesis with greater straight line speed just powers past the Subaru. Nothing Drumont is able to do. Into the braking zone of turn 3, closes it up once again, gets very deep on the brakes, tries to switch back on the inside, gets himself ahead. That might leave him an opportunity for Serrano to come into play as well.
That's what he needs. He needs that. He needs someone else in between him and Romero. Serrano dives up the inside in that Toyota, but Drumont, even still, that amazing exit, is still struggling to try and make the gap. Heavy on the brakes. Now this is where Drumont's got to make the difference. He's got to be quick in this middle sector. If he can get free, I think we're going to see him pull up to the back of Labu today. He just needs to be on his own, and he's made it. Look at the difference in speed there as Serrano gathers it up from a slide mid-corner. 100 mile an hour plus slide. These things are scary, I can tell you that for sure. But going for his middle sector, Drumont just disappearing now from Samara Romero as he is finally unleashed.
Romero was so wide out of turn 4, he was almost off into the car park at that point. He managed to get it back online and gather it all up, but it really could have cost him quite dearly indeed. He's now got to redo all of the hard work that he was trying to do on Serrano a few corners ago. In towards the penultimate turn we go. Time's now starting to creep into the 137s for the first time as well. Hensey and Fenton in the high 137s. The low 137s are where we're expecting that intermediate tyre crossover point to begin. So across the timing line we go. Ura and Labusle under investigation. Let's have a look here and see what happened. Ura's late on the race. This is down into turn 4-3, isn't it? And, up the inside. That allowed Estevez to go through.
I mean, he was there for a long time. He was alongside. I know he came from a long way back, but they were side by side, and the Boulay still turned in. So I don't know how he got there. I think that's fair, but it doesn't matter. They're still going at it. You're at the inside again, trying again, but the Boulay will have the better traction on the outside. We think so anyway, but you're actually managing to outpace, it seems, the BMW as wheel to wheel, side by side, coming down to the next corner. It's a downhill braking zone. Want to be on the outside really for the grip here, and the Boulay there just a bit more confident in the brakes, able to get the move back past again and up back into 6th place.
I love that Ura's got the indicator on as if he's signalling that he's going to move over to the left-hand side of the circuit. Can he launch an attack here on Labusle into the next corner? No, not quite. Just sits in the wheel tracks of the BMW for the time being.
I think we're getting... Look, is that a dry line?
It's drier than it was.
It's drier than it was, wasn't it?
Look at them. They're going to be using the outer parts of the circuit to try and cool those tyres down. They don't want to be on the normal racing line because there's no standing water on that part of the track. It can't cool the tyres down enough.
Yeah, it seems that they're really struggling right now. I think if I saw Hensey, I mean, the times are 37.8, 37.4 from Hensey. If I was someone on track right now and I was struggling, that's my right. Okay, I'm coming in. I'm putting those inters on, and I'm gonna chance it because the weather radar that we have, you guys can't see it right now. We have it here in our booth, and we can see that there's a bit more rain coming, but it's really starting to dry out enough that these cars are now starting to move that water off the circuit and create a drying line. So really, as we come into lap 17 of this 28-lap race, it's all going to unfold and start again. Who's going to make that first gamble? Who's going to go to that intermediate compound tyre first? And who's going to reap the benefits of that.
So, who is going to roll the dice then? Let's see what happens shortly at the end of this lap. Some of the drivers that are a bit lower down, they've got to come in, they've got to take a gamble because it's their opportunity to try and use that pace advantage that they may have from switching onto the intermediate tyres. I don't think it was going to be quite as bold as to go onto the dry tyres, but if you look at the weather radar though, Jimmy, there's not much rain on the horizon, not much on the forecast. Do you just chance it, stay out on the wet tyres for a little bit longer, then go onto the dry tyres at the first available opportunity and try and miss a pit stop? Because what you're going to lose, what, 10, 12, 14 seconds maybe from a pit stop?
Yeah, I think so, but I mean, you have to, surely. I mean, the difference in tyre and speed between the two tyres is pretty significant, so you really have to think about that. And yeah, again, look at the timings. I mean, the worst person to be right now is Mohamed Badima, because you're out front, you're the one basically giving the info to everybody else. This is where it gets really difficult. But if I was Coque Lopez, I'd be like, you know what? I'm coming in right now. Why the hell not? I'm 26 seconds off the lead. Make a gamble.
Yeah, well, he's got nothing to lose, hasn't he, Coque Lopez? And I'll tell you what, the gap for the race lead has come down a little bit. Yeah, let's see who has come into the pit lane at the end of this lap. We look at the boost lane. Mateo Estevez in the Honda has come in for another set of tyres. Now, which way is he going to blink? Is he going to go onto intermediate tyres? Surely that's going to be where the sensible money is for the Honda driver. Or does he just gamble and go straight for the dry tyres? I don't think he'll be able to get the heat into them. Let's see which way the Argentine goes. Yep, it is onto the intermediate tyres then. So, nicely done for Mateo Estevez in the Honda. Exits out of pit lane, and he is the first driver in the now drying conditions with 9.5 laps remaining to change over onto the intermediate tyres.
So now everyone is going to be watching Mateo Estevez and what his pace is like. You can see a little bit, of course, lap time, and like when you're driving around here in these live events. So if Estevez now is starting to set purple lap times, purple sector times, you're thinking, right, okay, now is the time to come in, now is the time to switch to that compound of tyre. Someone else who might consider that are these guys, Dumont and Serrano, a bit further down the field than they would usually like to be, but we know these cars are strong in the dry conditions, and the track is starting to go that way. More importantly, Badima, Hensei, who are coming round to the last sector now, will they see that Estevez is coming? Will they go for the gamble and go into that intermediate compound tyres? The times now, we're starting to almost see 36s from the front, and we think the crossover is about a mid-37, so maybe it's time. Who knows? Let's see. They're coming on the last corner now. Badima comes in.
0.3 of a second separate those drivers. Badima does come in then off of the wet tyres. He's going to surely go on to the intermediates. That releases Hensei into the lead. So Badima is the first driver to blink. He was the first driver to get there, of course, and he'll be feeling the conditions out. You can see the rain is still coming down, albeit in a lighter intensity. Surely it's going to be the intermediate tyre, and it is for Mohamed Badima then. So the Ferrari onto the intermediate tyres. He's the second driver to blink and go on to that quicker compound at this stage in the race.
The guy just fanned himself. He's feeling the pressure. He is. I mean, you say first driver to blink, the first driver at the head of the pack to go to those intermediates. He comes out right behind Ryan Darouche. So this is going to be interesting for him. Will he have the pace to be able to drive by Darouche, or will he be held up here? So you want to try and put yourself into a gap when you make a strategy call like this, but right now he's behind Darouche. So coming out of this T3 here, this is a traction zone. Let's see the difference between the Ferrari and that Corvette, that Chevy Corvette in front. Looks like Badima's much faster on exit there, gaining a tenth of a second just on the exit. I think this is the right call. And you see Estevez and Pecco coming in now also for that intermediate compound tyre. I think we'll see them all come in now, Tom.
Yeah, this is the time when mistakes can be made. They're cold tyres for Badima. He's got to spend a few corners getting them up to temperature, but he's doing a really good job. You can see a bit of an eyebrow twitch there as we look at him in the bottom left-hand corner of your screen. Red Darouche in front, and surely Darouche is going to come into the pit lane at the end of this lap. Surely the rest of the field have to. They can't sit out there on these wet tyres, and they've got to change over to the inters. Is anybody going to take a gamble, though? Stay on the wets, maybe go for the dries a little bit later on when the track gets even faster. It's a gamble. It could pay off.
It could, because you're then saving an entire pit stop. Pit stop's worth a lot of time around here, so we'll see. Watching Badima now, not quite making the inroads on Darouche as you think he would right now. So the tyre, wet tyre, is still okay for now, but now here it is. And these sort of low speed corners, these medium speed corners. You can see Mohamed there thinking, oh, mate, have I made the right choice?
Look at the fastest sector times though coming in on the timing screen, Jimmy. You look at the likes of Mateo Estevez. He was fastest overall in that first sector by second sector by a second over the comparative wet runners in front of him. So he's now starting to get heat into the tyres, starting to find the pace, and surely it's going to be a matter of when and not if Badima finds his way through on the wet shod Darouche.
I mean, you can see the circuit now visibly starting to have drier patches and wetter patches on. You see Darouche taking the wet part and Badima trying to stay on the drier part and really using that intermediate compound tyre. Now, of course, the downside to that is you're going to just absolutely lunch that intermediate tyre on the drier compound circuit. But that's what it's there for. It's there to be that crossover period. And again, on the traction zone, gained nearly half a second on Darush in front. And now, will Darush fight this or not? Because if he's staying out, that says to me he's going to go right immediately onto the slick. So Badima, as he goes, easy pass there for Badima, not quite though. The strength and the Corvette there, big speed. Go on, sorry, Tom.
Look at the sunshine though in the distance. That's going to drive the track out even more, because we're now starting to see the weather changing even more. Badima right on the back here of Darush as we come through this left-hander. He's got more traction, he's got more grip, he's got the opportunity on the inside. Darush tries to defend the position as he's rightful to do so. Can Badima firm it around the outside? It's risky going through there, but Badima's got track position. He's got third place for the time being. He's going to have more grip under braking into the penultimate corner, and the former race leader Mohamed Badima on the intermediate tyres is now up into third place.
But now he needs to catch Hensey and Fenton, who have both chosen not to pit here. So, as you say, Tom, they might just be roughing it out on that wet tyre and hoping for the best. Well, take a look at lap times. I mean, this is not really going to be a representative, I think, of the pace for Badima at the moment. Still does a 34.7 whilst passing. Sorry, Tom.
Yeah, you can just say Ura and Romero also into the pit lane then. Where are they going to go, though? That's the question. Are they going to go wets onto winters? They are. I wondered if someone might just take a bit of a gamble and just go onto the dry tyres, but they're playing it safe at this stage.
He does.
Romero goes soft.
This could be a massive decision here. Nico Romero for Team Genesis decides to play a hand. He's going for those soft tyres. So let's see how he does. We'll watch his sector times eagerly and see how he gets on. But here he is out the pit lane now. Can he get up to speed, or is it going to be just a mess? So he's going to be going straight over to that drying line. We'll see how he does, because the guys who've taken the intermediate tyres already will have to stop again and go to those softs. This could be everything for Romero and Genesis.
This is bold from Romero and for Genesis, but they've got nothing to lose. They weren't really featuring in the podium battle, and this could be an absolute masterstroke if the rain isn't going to come down. You can see the sunshine now bathing this circuit, and the dry line getting even more prominent. And of course, the likes of Badima, he might have to firm it out on the intermediate tyres and move over to the wet parts of the track, so it could go from being an advantage for a few laps into a disadvantage, depending on what Romero does. But I tell you what, he is a brave man to go out there, take a gamble quite like this. We've got to keep a very close eye on the lap times. You can see, though, now a very prominent difference between the wets and the intermediates. Fenton and Badima, 0.7 of a second quicker for the Ferrari compared to the Mercedes in second and third.
I don't think it's enough, though, Tom. I don't think it's enough at this stage. Romero, so this, look at his second sector, is comparable to those on the wet tyres. A little bit faster, actually. The intermediate tyre, definitely the fastest tyre right now, but will it be Darush as well, opting to come in for that soft? The Bouteille and Serrano and Coca Lopez in. Are they all going to go for that soft compounded tyre? Did Mohamed Badima blink a little bit too early?
Well, we'll see what happens here as Darush crawls his way out of the pit lane. He's going to have to be very careful off the racing line to not spin up those slick tyres and try and get some heat into them. Moves over to the drying line. That's going to leave him under attack here from Ura. So Darush now behind the intermediate Sean Estevez. Now this will be a real test, because Darush has had good pace. He's on the soft tyre. The two drivers sandwiching him at the moment, both on the intermediates. You'll expect Ura to be quicker. Look how much more grip he's got under braking, especially into turn 3. And out of this corner as Darush tries to get those softs up to operating temperature. Ura here is on the inside. Darush, I'm sure, is going to be a little bit defenceless at this stage, but he's not taking it lying down into the braking zone of turn 4. Has Ura got more grip under braking? He certainly has. He dives to the inside in the Mazda. Darush has got no answer for him at the moment, but there's still a few laps left. There's still 5.5 laps for this to come the way of Darush and Le Bouteille and the likes of Romero, Serrano and Lopez, all of whom have gone onto the dry tyres.
Isn't this crazy? We have every compounded tyre currently on the car. Hensey finally opting to pit in. He'll go surely to the soft tyre. There's no other option at this point for him. The track is still dry, nothing on the weather radar coming in. Fenton opting to stay out again. This is going to promote Badima back up into soft there for Hensey. So this is going to be a crazy finish. We're going to have to check the gaps once we get them go through the sectors. But right now, Badima 1.7 off the lead. Hensey back out on that soft compounded tyre. Where does he come out? Kylian Drumont, who's not pitted, is still in P4 at the moment, just behind this battle. And the gap is about 10 seconds between Fenton, the leading car, and Hensey, who's just come out of the pit on the softs.
So 5 laps left of this race. This is going to be the longest 5 laps of Badima's life. He has got to drive so carefully to keep those intermediate tyres in the right operating window. depending on if those soft tyres that a lot of other drivers are on, the likes of Hensei, etc., are going to be able to try and close up.
So I've checked the timings. Romero is the fastest man on the circuit right now on those soft tyres. The soft tyre is a tyre to be on.
Look at Darush on the inside of Ura then. Soft tyre there for Darush. He's got some heat into it after just one lap. He now deposes the Mazda down into 7th place, and his next target is going to be Matteo Estevez. He's going to drive by him like he's standing still.
But importantly, is there enough time? Is there enough time left? There's about 6 laps left here. You need at least a second lap plus the overtake for Hensei. He's the one we're watching right now in P3 to try and catch Fenton and Badima. So right now, Estevez, Darush and Ura, all of them, Darush on the soft tyre, Estevez and Ura on the intermediate tyre. For this middle sector, you can see Darush just hasn't quite got the speed. Ura can go around the outside, but as soon as he hooks into that dry tarmac, that Chevrolet just absolutely takes off. Fenton coming in too late for Fenton. He's really going to lose out here, I think.
Yeah, I think you could be right. Could possibly cost him a podium here as we look at this battle.